After abortion rights supporters secured an overwhelming win in Kansas on Tuesday, Republican candidates are frantically backtracking, attempting to moderate previously extreme positions on abortion ahead of November's midterms. The New York Times writing, quote, in Pennsylvania, Doug Mastriano, the Republicans' ardently anti-abortion candidate for governor, has lately taken to saying the people of Pennsylvania will decide what abortion looks like in the state, not the governor. In Minnesota, Scott Jensen, a family physician who said in March that he would try to ban abortion as governor, said in a video released before the Kansas vote that he does support some exceptions. If I've been unclear previously, I want to be clear now. Axios breaking down the data from Tuesday showing that Republicans, even in more conservative districts, should take notice, writing that quote, an 18-point loss for a proposal to strip abortion rights out of the state's constitution yielded new evidence that abortion can push swing voters toward Democrats and mobilize the liberal base, adding that it may hurt Republicans in the very races they need to take control of the Senate, writing, quote, abortion now often ranks as the second most important issue in national polls after economic concerns. It has particular resonance in battleground states where access hangs in the balance. Joining our conversation, Olivia Troy, former top aide to Vice President Mike Pence, and Donna Edwards is back with us. So, Donna, can Republicans, the Republicans that we're seeing now backtracking and sort of doing sort of the backstroke, from their hardline positions on abortion, can they save themselves now that their rhetoric is already out there?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. Some of the positions that have been taken previously are really extreme, not in the case of rape or incest or, or to save the life of the mother. And so I think these are the most extreme positions that many of these Republican candidates and elected officials have staked out. And it's going to be up to Democrats to highlight that. To really take it to them and not back away from that fight. And there's every indication that Democrats are prepared to go full bore when it comes to expressing both their support for abortion rights, but also pointing out where these elected officials have said things that are on the record on radio programs in front of microphones. And it's pretty it's pretty difficult, rather, to backtrack away from those positions because they've been stated so publicly and they are so extreme.
Olivia, the New York Times has run the numbers on the motivating power of abortion rights for voters like this. The Kansas vote implies that around 65% of voters nationwide would reject a similar initiative to roll back abortion rights, including in more than 40 of the 50 states. A few states on each side are very close to 50-50. This is a rough estimate based on how demographic characteristics predicted the results of recent abortion referendums. But it is an evidence-based way of arriving at a fairly obvious conclusion. If abortion rights wins 59% support in Kansas, is doing even better than that nationwide. So how significant a factor will this change in momentum and certainly this attitude among voters to sort of lean in on this issue push results on Election Day?
Look, I think this is a very significant issue for voters, and I think Republicans picked the wrong fight. I think, the power of women when we come together is strong. And I think what you saw in Kansas was you heard women's voices, conservative women's voices as well, moderate voter voices, like myself, who, we may lean pro-life, we may lean more conservative. But I think the important message to stress with a lot of these voters is the overreach of these types of initiatives that are being passed and the extremeness of them, the invasion of privacy. It is a very, very personal matter. It is a matter that is someone's choice to make, right? And I think also what we're seeing is just like the vigilante-ness of, turning on your neighbor and the kind of reporting and attacking each other over this. I don't think women are going to stand for this, and I don't think they want any part of it. And look, Republican, conservative women may not speak this publicly, but behind closed doors and within Republican circles, there are a lot of women who are very upset about this entire scenario, and I think you're seeing it play out in Kansas.
Olivia, you just nailed it for me, because you and I have been inside those rooms. We know what these conversations are like and how they go, and particularly with Republican women. How did Republican leadership get this so wrong in thinking that they could actually push this? I know there was some concern about Mississippi pushing its case in this cycle to get to the Supreme Court for this very reason. And what does that say about other social issues like birth control and gay marriage, for example, where, again, Republicans have taken very extreme positions that are out of step with what national polling, 60-70% of Americans are saying?
Well, honestly, I think that speaks to the extremism in the Republican Party. I think you had a group of people who are pushing extremist agendas and narratives across the board that have engulfed the Republican Party. And look, with Trump leading the charge himself. And a lot of these other far-right people that are running for candidacy still today. And I think they thought that they had a platform now and they were going to ram this through and they're going to push it forward. And I think what they're seeing now is that this is backfiring. And you can go to the kitchen table issues and they can, cry about, gas prices and inflation and say, oh, all of these things that matter to the voters. But these other issues are equally just as important. And look, we are in a very different time than we were in the old days. And I think people are going to stand by each other and are not about these policies. And I think, you are seeing it in states like Texas, my home state, and other states where there is the overreach that is happening. And I think that's what American voters need to remember, whether you are Republican, conservative, whatever. I think that we're in a time where I think, when we see the overreach on these things at several levels, we all need to take a stand.
So, Donna, Olivia raises some very interesting points. And so on the flip side, do you worry that Democrats risk going all in on abortion when it may prove to be something that's more local or regional or just, to a specific certain districts, not just sort of a national mood or feeling about it?
Well, a lot of these races, whether they are individual congressional races or statewide races, in these key states are going to turn on a couple of percentage of the vote. And so I think that Democrats are smart that they will use the abortion issue and their strength on supporting abortion rights to carve out that extra 1 to 5% that it's going to take to win in these districts. And look, I went to the gas station today. I don't know about anybody else, but my price filling up my tank is lower. President Biden's support is higher today. His approval is higher. There are a lot of issues that are churning right now, and abortion happens to be one of those issues that even for a very narrow and targeted group of constituents will be enough to change the outcome in some of these elections. And so I do say to Democrats, lean in on this. The American people are with you, and American women who are going to decide this election are with you as well.
All right, Donna Edwards, it's always a pleasure having you on with us. Thank you so much. Olivia Troy is staying with us. So after the break, how conflict over political flashpoints like abortion may make America a more dangerous nation.